bonsai art, we hear about the rules or regulations that govern the styling or designing of bonsai. Now, this can be anything from eliminating bar branches to making sure that trunks do not cross in a group or clump style planting. Now, we need to keep in mind that these rules and regulations are really just guidelines that help us determine how to design the trees. Not all trees need to follow each and every single rule. In fact, some trees actually break the rules very gracefully, and rather than detracting from the value of the tree, they actually increase the overall beauty of the plant. Today we're going to be working with one such plant that breaks some of the rules in bonsai design. We'll be working with a clump-style Japanese white pine. Originally it was planted into a 50-gallon container, and the roots were actually about 1.5 feet deep. The owner of this tree over time has cut those roots back, and now the tree's been placed in a very shallow container, and it's ready to be styled as a bonsai. So before we begin styling this tree, let's go through and look at the overall plant itself and identify the good points and the bad points and see what we can work with, what we can eliminate, and how we can make this tree into a beautiful bonsai. If you take a look at the tree from the front view here, you'll notice for the most part that we can see all of the trunks from the base to the very end. However, some of them do cross. For example, this trunk in the back here is hidden a bit by the main trunk, and just behind that, the trunk that goes farthest to the back is also crossing quite a bit. Now normally we would try to uncross those and make sure that each one can be seen, but with this particular design, this tree is very interesting, so we're going to see if we can incorporate this as it is into the design. Also notice that in the back here, this trunk is almost the same thickness as our main trunk in the front. This is a bit taboo in designing a clump style or a forest style group. We'd always like to have the main trunk be the thickest, and then all the trunks after that taper down. Now because this one is so thick, we have two options. We can either get rid of it, or we can see what we can do by incorporating it into the design. Now if we do leave it in the design, it is a pretty straight trunk, so what we're going to have to do is put a little bit of movement in that and try to match the movement of the front trunk here. See if we can make it look really nice overall. So here we're going to try to put a bend in the trunk right where this piece of wood is, and the reason we're doing that is because this trunk is too straight and we want to match the movement of the main trunk in the front. So we've taken a piece of rebar, jammed it into the soil as far as it'll go, taken a piece of heavy copper wire and braced it at the very base here, put a piece of wood in the center where we're actually going to make the bend. We've taken a jack and attached it at the top. So as we twist this should move in this direction, and after we get this where we want it to be, we'll attach a piece of wire here to hold it in place and remove the jack. Now that we've managed to put a bend in the bottom part of the trunk here, we need to do the same for the top half of the trunk because it's now too straight. So we're going to do the same process right here and bend this part of the trunk back towards the center. This is the trunk after we've bent it. You can see now that it sort of matches the movement of this front trunk much better, and it doesn't look as thick now since we've put the movement in it. This side is the back of the tree here, and we've had to wire some heavy branches, so to hide the wire from the front we've actually taken it and anchored it across the back side of the tree. We're going to do the same thing with these two branches here. If you spin the tree around to the opposite side, you can see that you can't see that wire from the front here, which makes it look much cleaner and much nicer. This particular apex here is going to prove to be a bit of a challenge. We have 3 branches that protrude from the same location on the trunk. The best idea would be to get rid of one of these, so I'm thinking what we're going to do is get rid of this top one here because the line of the trunk is a bit odd. We could put some heavy wire on it and bend it down, but it's going to look a bit contrived. So I think what we're going to do is take this off here, use this as our new apex, and this is our main branch. So I've set the 2 bottom branches here, and I've tried my best to get the bow out of the branch by forcing the center of it down. If we leave the bow in the branch, it makes it look weak and young, but if we smash it down, make it straight, and put a little bit of a bend in it from side to side, it makes the branch look quite a bit older and the overall tree look older as well. All we have left to do is fix the apex here, and if you notice it's very long and leggy, it sticks way up off the top of the tree. So what we're going to do is take this, push it down towards the front, smash the level of it down right about into here and create a rounded top. If you notice here, this is the most difficult trunk that we have to work with on the tree because all of the branches protrude from one single location. So we're going to have to use all of these and incorporate them into the design. What we'll do is use this branch in the front, pull it down, use it as our main branch here, take this branch that's sticking up, use it as our apex by pulling it down slightly. This one in the back will drop down towards the back side to create some depth. If you take a look here as well, we have a long branch with no foliage on it except for the very tip. So what we'll do is hide that by bringing the foliage around, covering up that leggy part and making the branch look fuller as if it has back buds when it really doesn't. The back area of this tree is very open, so we're going to take this branch here, which would normally be our apex as it's the thickest branch at the top here. We're actually going to take this and force it down into this area. So I've wrapped the branch here so as not to break it when we actually bend it. If you notice, I've wrapped it across here over the top, and we're going to be pulling it down in this direction. So this is our final product after we've wired the entire tree. We've wired all of the heavy branches down into position. We've wired all of the branches out to the very tips, flipped up the tips, and tried to create an effect that the tree has back buds by raising up the smaller inner branches into the center, creating a rounded top to each branch. If you notice here, by putting the bend in this trunk, we've softened the look of it. We've also matched the movement of the main trunk in the front, created more of a fluid design overall with the tree. Also, if you take a look at the top here, some of these apexes, actually 4 of the main apexes, are almost the same height on this tree. There's really nothing we can do about it on this particular design. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this tree breaks some of the rules of bonsai and does it very gracefully. So despite the fact that these 4 trunks are relatively the same height, it actually works in this overall design. Now, our next step in the process with this tree into the future is to begin reducing the length of the needles. Now, the way we do that is by reducing fertilizer and water to some degree over the course of the summer. However, next year we're going to fertilize this tree as usual because we've done so much work to it this year. It needs a chance to recover. But following that, probably 2 years from now, we'll reduce the fertilizer over the summer, reduce the water to some degree, and then in the wintertime we'll fertilize with a low nitrogen fertilizer to allow the tree to build up energy, store up energy over the winter months, and then put out a new flush in the spring.